All right. Hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well. This is Rudy. Hey, in my last video I wanted to read David and Goliath, but I got to my 15 minutes and I had to stop, so I'll just make another one. But also I wanted to share that my dad, he's 81, going on 82, and he's getting to the point where he's starting to think about assisted living in a nursing home. So every weekend I've been taking him lately to visit some of these nursing homes around town so that he can, pick one that he likes. And, there's differences in the way they serve the food and just the atmosphere, right? And there's also differences in pricing. But one of the things I've learned, and I didn't know this before we started looking, is he's a veteran in the Marines and he was in the military during an active war. So he was in the military in 51 and part of 52. So that was during the Korean War. And the reason that's important is he's eligible for some government assistance for assisted living and in some of these nursing homes. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, I still need to investigate this, but my mother, who was married to him at the time, might be also eligible to receive government assistance. And she's getting, up there in age too. So in any event, I'm taking my dad, and we're kind of investigating all of these nursing homes and what the opportunities are and which ones he might like. And I've offered him to come live with me, but he's a very independent fart, and he just wants to, understand what his options are. But I wanted to mention that assisted living assistance in case any of you guys have parents, and if they are a veteran that was in the time of an active war, there's some assistance that they get, and it might even apply to the spouse. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, my Sahih Muslim, I kept talking about this several videos ago. My Sahih Muslim hadith came in today. This is the second hadith. There's a total of 6. And there's 4 volumes. Just to show you guys, so, there's 3 more here, and then I got this one, that's the 4th. But, it didn't take me long to find another crazy verse, and I wanted to, there's all kinds of verses in here. I just get tired of talking about, all the sexual verses and the debauchery and stuff. I thought I would just find a funny verse, right? A little bit more cleaner, because it gets old on me talking about all the debauchery that Islam focuses on. So this one was kind of funny, and it's called, it's in the Sahih Muslim Hadith. This is volume 3, and it's on page 1343. Okay, and it says it says verse 5017. So hopefully that'll line up if you have a Sahih Muslim Hadith as well. But it's called the disapproval of drinking water while standing. Now I've said many times that Muhammad was obsessive compulsive. I mean, there's don't wash your nose 3 times, pray 5 times, pointing east, but he changed east 5 times. Wash your private parts with 3 stones, 5 stones, 7 stones, but make sure it's an odd number. I could go on and on and on. He liked to pick his teeth, but he had to use cinnamon toothpicks. But this one right here is disapproval of drinking water while standing. Anas reported Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, they say that all the time, peace be upon him, disapproved of drinking water while standing. Anas reported that Allah's apostle, peace be upon him, forbade that a person should drink while standing. Qatada reported, we said to him, what about eating? Thereupon he said, that is even worse and more detestable, abominable. So Muslims are not supposed to drink or eat while standing. Here's another verse that's related to this. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him. I'm so tired of saying that. As saying, none of you should drink while standing, and if anyone forgets, he must vomit. Oh man, I tell you, next time you're in an office party and you're friendly Muslim, and I have good Muslim friends too, or I used to have, but and I don't hate Muslims, I hate Islam. I hate the teachings of this book that's leading a lot of Muslims to hell. But, next time you're at an office party and you're standing around, and everybody's at the water cooler or, chit-chatting, hand your friendly Muslim a glass of water and see if he drinks it while he's standing up. And if he drinks it, you can point him to this verse, and then he's obligated to go vomit it out. Okay, all right. How much time I got? All right. Okay, let's read David and Goliath. Man, this story is so cool, and this is like, I talked about how Muslims behead people. Well, there's examples of Christians beheading people too. And the Bible tells us there's a time and a place for everything. And, the act of beheading is not necessarily bad when you're doing it to an evil son of a gun who deserves it, right? And so the thing between discerning between evil and good is, that's the key, isn't it? That's the key. You have to be able to discern between evil and good. Pedophiles are evil. Killing babies is evil, right? Murdering someone that's innocent. I believe that it's not just my belief, but the interpretation is thou shalt not murder, which is the taking of innocent life, right? It doesn't say thou shalt not kill. It says thou shalt not murder. That's the actual meaning of the Hebrew and the Greek. But in any event, let me read to you guys the story of David and Goliath. This is an incredible story, and I want to point out a few things as I read through this story. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoco, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shoco and Azekah in Ephes-dammim. And Saul, which, got King Saul, and there was a young shepherd boy named David, and Saul had his problems, right? And David had his problems too, but I think David, David was a young shepherd boy, and he was an up-and-coming, good guy in the Bible. But Saul was the king currently. And it says, Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah and set the battle in array against the Philistines. Okay, the Philistines are the bad guys, by the way. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So we've set up the picture. You got the Philistines on one side and Israel on the other, and there's a valley in the middle. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Now, I don't know what a span is, but 6 cubits, I looked it up, and a cubit is anywhere from 2 feet to 2.5 feet. Some people say it could be like 1.5 feet, but the dimensions have changed. But let's just go with middle of the road and say it's 2 feet, right? Although it could have been bigger than that. So if you're 6 cubits and a span, you're at least 12 feet tall, right? You're 12. So you got this 12-foot tall Philistine guy out there, and there were giants in earlier times, right? Ken Hovind talks about this. We've got skeletons of giants, so I totally believe that there were giants in earlier times. So you got this 12-foot tall Philistine giant in the valley, like mocking all the Israelites. And let's see what happens next. And there went out a champion of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath, of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So he was over 12 foot tall, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. Now, I've tried to look that up, and best I can tell, that's over 120 pounds. So his armor, just his armor material that he wore was over 120 pounds. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs and target of brass upon his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam. And the spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing a shield went before him. So just the head of the spear weighed 600 shekels of iron. And I tried to look that up, and best I can tell, that's anywhere from 12 to 15 pounds. Okay? This is a Louisville Slugger, right? This is a Louisville Slugger that I have here. I got it at a garage sale for $2. I got this Louisville Slugger at a garage sale for $2. I weighed myself, and then I weighed myself holding the Louisville Slugger, and this thing is about 2 pounds, maybe a little over, right? But the head of the spear that Goliath wielded was over 12 to 15 pounds, maybe even more than that, right? That's just the head of the spear. That's not even including like the whole spear itself, right? So you got 7 times the Louisville Slugger taking up the head of the spear, and you got this 12-foot tall guy wielding it, and he's pissed off at the Israelites making fun of him. Okay, So I want to set up the scene there. Okay, and he stood, and you got this guy, like his little helper guy, who's probably like, half his height, carrying his shield around. And he says, and he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel. And he said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. And if he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then we will prevail to be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then we shall be, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. So I would imagine there's lots of brave men in the world. I mean, I think there are, because I see them from time to time, that are willing to risk their own life to fight for something that they believe in. And so you do need something in your life that you're willing to fight for, so strongly that, if you need to risk your life, you'll do that. But you need to understand that David wasn't just risking his life when he fought Goliath. David was risking the lives of all of the Israelites. He was risking the life that if he lost that battle, they had to submit themselves. And I would imagine this is being heard by both sides. And you say, well, they didn't really have to honor that. Well, it would have been a shameful thing to have two men engaged in battle when it was agreed upon, where he says, if you win, I will all of Philistine will be your servants, and if you win, all of if I win, all of Israel will be the Philistine servants, and if you win, all of Philistine will be Israel's servants. So you need to understand, it's more than just two guys fighting for one another, to have bragging rights. They were fighting to see, for each other in war, right? And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Can you imagine seeing a 12-foot tall Philistine with a weaver's beam that's with spear, and it's like 7 times, just the head of the spear is 7 times heavier than a Louisville Slugger, and he's out there wanting to do some killing, and he says, send me your best guy. And then you got a little shepherd boy, that's going to go fight him. Absolutely crazy. Okay, I want to read you the next part, and this is where Saul goes and fights Goliath. David goes and fights Goliath, sorry. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put on the helmet of brass upon his head, and he also armed him with a coat of mail, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. So Saul, who was like the older king, wanted to put all this armor on David. And like David's a shepherd boy, never wore armor before, He says, he took off the staff, and he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in the shepherd's bag. Now some have argued that since David picked up 5 stones, he didn't have enough faith, and that he should have only picked up 1 stone. But I don't make that argument. Which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when Philistine looked about and saw David, he had disdain, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of fair countenance. That talks about some of those have used that verse to describe the ethnicity of the Israelites. Go look up the word ruddy and of fair countenance, and you tell me what that describes as far as who the Israelites were. But anyway, let's move on. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Okay, I'm running out of time, but you'll have to read the rest of the story. I don't know how the heck I eat up 15 minutes so fast, but it's an amazing story. I mean, it's an incredible story. And I would ask, do you as a Christian, and this goes to myself as well, do we have the bravery of David, who not only will fight for ourselves and have a cause that we will fight for, but we'll risk it all, not just our own life, but everyone that we love, right? And that's what we need. We need unlimited courage and unlimited bravery to be able to discern evil from good, and to be able to fight it, and to know that the Lord is on our side. And even if we get slayed, that the Lord will take care of us anyway in the next life. God bless every one of you, and I ran out of time again.